Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, Town Council meeting, in Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Mark, will you lead us in prayer?
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in a meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community.
Jamie, who's the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Actually, you know what? Bert was out there. All right, roll call.
Actually, Sarah, before we get started, I just want to say quick words. Election's over. Thank God. Congratulations to both of you for your next 4 years on the council,
Thank you.
and good luck.
And actually, if I can add to that, a big round of applause for the clerk's office and what they did during the whole, seems like forever, election process. Did a great job. So thank you for all that you and your team did. Yeah.
Happy to do it.
Great
Yeah.
job.
Great. Roll call. Councilman Dennison.
Here.
Councilman Lichardi.
Here.
Councilman Messier is absent. Council Vice President Williamson.
Here,
Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum is declared. Consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 Town Council meeting and approval of tax cancellations in the amount of $293.43.
move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinances. Second reading of ordinance 2024-21, amending Chapter 11 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Operation, Section 47, Motor Vehicle, Restricted Routes and Appendix C Traffic Ordinances, One Way on Inclusion Lane.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Again, this is the second reading. Al is on if you need to ask any questions.
Council President, you had brought up this one as property lines potentially being part of the adjacent garage.
Mhm.
However, Solicitor DeFiore and Mark Boyer checked out the maps, and it's been what appears to be a street since the 1920s. He mentioned a quick claim deed, which doesn't have the weight of any transfer beyond it. And he's confident between that and state law that once it's been used as a road for 20 years, it could be acquired if necessary, but he's confident that we can do what we intend to do with this.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes,
And I vote.
First reading of an ordinance related to camping on public property.
move the ordinance.
Second.
Move second, discussion? Been a lot of discussion on this, but
I don't know.
Discussion wise, I think we've kind of went back and forth with this and talked it to death for the last 6 months or so. And, everything is right here and it's pretty straightforward. So, really nothing, I think Mark did a good job with this, him explaining it, so.
keeping it short and sweet.
It's definitely, I prefer this version. It's much shorter. It's much more. However, I still have some reluctance. And this takes care of encampments, but it doesn't get to the root problem. And I guess I would suggest that at least the council consider having a resolution that as a companion or something that says, we recognize we have an unhoused problem and that we want to do something about it. Separate and apart, because that's not, I think we went to great lengths to make sure this doesn't talk about people that are unhoused. I don't know that this solves the problem. I have concerns about costs. If it were this easy, I would think that many other municipalities would have done it already and it would have taken care of it. So I think we need to be, we shouldn't fool ourselves that this is going to take care of the problem that we have here in town or that we have in the state. So I would, again, I don't have anything in writing, but I would prefer that we have something that went along with it that acknowledged that we do have a problem and that we will do whatever we can to work with state and local officials to actually address the root cause, which is a lack of housing and shelter. So, as I said,
I do agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think this is, you know, the way we needed to approach this was in steps. And I think this is just that. It's a step. It's not, like you said, it's not the be all end all, but at least it is giving us some direction. It is making our intentions known. And I think it is, something the taxpayers can look back at and see that we're doing something to help them. And like you said, this problem is multifaceted. This isn't going to solve it. This isn't going to just end it outright. But, you know, I think this is something that needs to be done.
again, I made it clear that I would never vote for anything that criminalized the situation. And this makes it clear that first offense is not. I do think that people have roots here. I think that they will find another place in town. I assume that this has been vetted with police chief, fire chief, EMA. I don't know if we put a price tag on what this might cost, as long as people understand that when we look at budgets at the end of the year, in all likelihood, those departments involved will be over budget. So,
Aren't they gonna be over budget now because of this? I mean, any type of cost is, I don't recall any type of cost with this is being had been put in last year's budget. When you talk about the cost of, it could be anything from a committee going out to check every other week, or.
which I think is a
Or-
positive
or-
thing, yes.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
of course it is. But cleanup and just these meetings. I mean, everything's an additional cost. So, I mean, it is what it is, you know, I mean, as far as, the big cost is gonna be the cleanup.
Did you
Cleanup
have something
everywhere, though.
specific about additional cost that you were?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go and move every encampment in town, I mean, we've moved a couple and the costs were fairly significant, if I remember Director Caldwell talking to us about what those costs were. And Mark, I don't know if you have those figures, but if we're gonna do that and we're gonna keep moving people and cleaning up after each time we move somebody, there's gonna be a cost associated with it.
Well, I think that's where the people come in, the advocates that come in who are working with these individuals. And they need to be on board with us, whether they like it or not, is to let these people know, you can't camp out overnight here. That's it.
Well, I just want to point out letter C, unauthorized camping on public property. Just want to point that out, public property. I was out of the encampment today that I was shown. It's on private property. Nothing we can do.
It's not, that's right.
Private property.
This is about town.
The
town
property
land,
owner has to
correct?
take care of it.
This
Right,
is about town land.
right, but you should contain your remarks only to the proposed ordinance, not any of the other things that you've been talking about. So if you start talking about cleanups aren't really part of this ordinance. Neither is the
No, but
cost.
I think they are.
I think the withholding of not
Removal of
withholding,
personal
removal of
property
personal
and-
property. But that's taking actual property and storing it versus the actual cleanup of a particular area. So
I think that it's all part of this particular ordinance, to be honest with you. But as I said, I don't want us to be short-sighted and I don't think this actually provides a solution. It certainly does provide a solution. And the headaches that have been caused in the last couple of weeks, there's no question. You started out by talking about several weeks ago it's bad behavior. And we've seen unfortunately quite a bit of that in the last month or so. And the police have done a terrific job and the firefighters have done a terrific job in actually taking care of that bad behavior and when warranted. The fact that we don't have a solution for people still bothers me a great deal. We can't say, Jay,
You have to go here. I
you can
get
go
it.
to X, Y, and Z.
I totally
And
get
I
it.
want to, I would like to think that the town council would commit to actually working to come up with that solution as well. So that, I think this is only a piece. That's kind of where I am.
Well, I think the town council and the town manager and all department heads are working to move forward. And, you know, and as Councilman Dennison said, that, you know, this is a step and we can still continue to figure out ways to get housing in here. Still waiting for an answer on Lippert Mill, still waiting on different things. We are continuing, but if we don't start somewhere, then, you know, last time it was too strict, too harsh. You know, the wording was obviously not right. This here is just plain Jane, general, everybody. I can't go camp on public property, nor can anybody else. And again, the unauthorized camping on public property is the main concern I'm worried about.
Yeah, with the incidents that have occurred over the last 3 weeks, I think this is necessary. I think public safety is paramount, and that's where I'm at with it.
And I agree that public safety is paramount. And again, I am not against this. I just think it's only one piece.
Sure.
And we feel the need to do this to make this official. I also feel the need to make it official that we are going to actively work towards finding another solution, whether it's with our state delegation. And I know that Mark and certainly Chief Barone has done a lot of that. It's not easy, and we can't, as we've said many times, we can't do it ourselves, but I think it would go a long way. We feel we need to memorialize this. I feel that it needs to be one more. Again, not against this, but I think we need to have
So that would be a separate.
resolution perhaps.
Piece of paper.
Nothing prohibits the council from having a resolution to offer their opinion as it relates to certain issues affecting the,
Correct.
so that can happen at any time in conjunction with this.
So, again, I'm not sure how it's going to work in practice. And I would like somehow to have a running total of what the costs are, so we know that. So we understand that. And I do think it's important that we continue the outreach that happens every other Thursday. So,
Any other comment from the council? Any public comment on this ordinance?
Good evening, Tom Oates, 6 Colonial Way. With all due respect, Mary Beth, I know you hold this tight in your heart, that you have a obligation to come up with a solution. If I may be so bold, as you 5 counselors, women, men and women, you work for us, the taxpayers of this town, and your obligations are to them. Yes, outreach is important. Finding a place for these people are important, but I don't think it has much to do with this ordinance. Number one. My second one. The word unauthorized, I heard that. Does this ordinance say unauthorized camping?
Yep.
yes.
What's authorized camping?
Permit?
I,
For what?
I assume if the Boy Scouts wanted to camp at River Point,
Ah,
maybe. I
oh,
assume.
Okay.
That's
right, but-
that's how I read it. That they
Yes.
would come and get a permit to do that. Right.
So you could file a permit, but, okay,
There's no actual
No
I don't
permit
think
in
we have
place.
that, I
Process
don't think
for
we
that,
have that
but-
process in place, but, and I don't know that that's ever happened. I'm just,
I know we got thrown off the Boy Scouts 40 years ago, camping up at the Civic Center. We were invited by the people, the town that ran the carnival. They wanted the Boy Scouts to push, enrollment. And they had us set up a big campsite between the two buildings, right where the memorial is today. And, to do cooking demos and all of this, and we got thrown out unauthorized by the fire department. They asked us to vacate. And so we had to take the kids down to Yago for the rest of the weekend, which they loved. But yeah, that's one thing, that to me, unauthorized, so there's gotta be authorized. That could leave open up big loophole. That's all I wanted to point out. Thank you.
and actually, there was one other thing in here that, go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
John Reed, 62 Andrews Avenue. According to what I read here, this is an ordinance for the general public. How we wound up bringing another group into this is a mistake. That's how we got caught up last time. This ordinance, if I can read right, is for the general public, not for the other situations that you're bringing up. I believe they are two different animals. And I'm not sure combining it during this meeting is the proper thing to do. The ordinance in front of you is whether anybody, whether they live in the town, out of the town, or whatever, can camp on public property, our property. Is that what this reads?
Pretty much.
It
Yeah.
says nothing about Indians, Africans, dogs, general public. Is that what this says?
Anyone,
Then the other subject doesn't even belong here, Mike.
I disagree, but that's okay.
That's how we got in trouble last time. So, I mean, you're the council, but I think if you stay on point, this is one instance. If you want to go into another one, another ordinance somewhere down the road,
It's exactly what I said. It's exactly what I said.
another ordinance down the road.
A
Not
resolution.
combined with this one.
I didn't say to combine it. It's not what I said.
No. But what you were stating was you're taking the other problem and putting it into this meeting under this headline. That's all I'm saying.
I said completely separate, completely separate.
That's not what's on the agenda.
Any other comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes,
And I vote yes.
Business licenses. Do you want to take them one section at a time, Dave, or all together?
We'll go all together. It's a lot of them.
move the business licenses,
Second.
H0102 and 03, and 04 and 5.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. If you are here for an annual amplifier loudspeaker theatrical performance license, you've been approved. Victual house licenses have all been approved. It's supposed to like 650 on there. Renewal of 24-hour victual house licenses have all been approved. Request for the West Warwick Teachers Alliance raffle license has been approved, and West Warwick Fire Department for a tag day license has been approved. Thank you.
Appointments and resignations. Request from Timothy Sullivan for appointment to the West Warwick Zoning Board of Review as a full member.
Move the appointment.
Second.
I don't know if Tim is currently an alternate member of the
Yeah.
zoning board. You guys had appointed at a vacancy and appointed a full-time member at the office. And there's actually stuff I don't know about how to speak to it. You just appointed another full-time member, so it's currently full, but Tim would like to move and.
Oh. I didn't understand that when I read that.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have like a term on it, was he's asking for appointment, I think he sent an email, that's attached, he's asking his full member. I'm not sure if you want to address that.
So the question that came up to me today was, and again, is this one of the boards that have to go by affiliation? So many Democrats, so many Republicans, so
I
many,
believe There can't be any more than a 3-2 majority.
so,
However, if you have independents, that goes as well.
so the question is, what party is each individual that's appointed right now is the question, even the individual. And that's what came my way today, which back in August when we appointed, I don't think we even looked at that, but I don't know what the makeup is. But right now, the board is already appointed full. I can't see having to. I don't know. It's.
Can you provide us with the makeup? And can we table this right now until we have all the information in front of us?
That's what I'd
Maybe
rather do.
next week.
Yeah,
because-
we also had this conversation back then that there should be a mechanism, and I don't know how exactly we go about doing that, where alternates, longest appointed gets first choice, and that's how we should move, I believe, because this is crazy, because we wind up posting three and four times for things.
The
and-
the only one that I
But-
know is the Board of Canvassers is the only one we definitely gotta follow by Republican, Democrat.
Oh, I think there are a couple
But that's
of
fine,
others.
but I just wanna point, this is one of those boards that supposedly have a party affiliation on the charter.
So, right, so the board of members, that I state statute that I have. But the other requirements are requirements. At some point. We can definitely look at the makeup. I think part of the problem is that the board hasn't been meeting regularly anymore because of housing legislation. So they haven't met for a long time. I think that's why, even though we posted it as a file for that position, before someone applies, I don't think that the other members had a chance to see what can happen until they were all sitting back together.
Oh,
Yep. And Tim's a great guy. He definitely well involved. He is a good member of the board.
Yeah.
It's just, unfortunately, when these appointments or these vacancies are open, I mean, whether it's the chairperson of the board or whether it's, I'm not sure if the attorneys can get involved in that, but somebody needs to let them know if they're not meeting, hey, just want to give you a heads up, there is a appointment available if anybody's interested. I mean, I think that I'd put that probably on the chairperson, but that's just me. Like, that's,
so we did discuss, and that's, I don't think that's a charter thing. I think that's just something that we could probably put a policy in place, whereby the alternates, longest standing one gets first shot at it, and then as long as there aren't affiliation issues, I don't know how other people think about that, but
If I may, no more than 3 of the members of the board should
Right.
be
of one part,
the same political party.
right.
Just 3. And the auxiliary members shall be from each of the 2 major political parties.
Which is,
That-
what was the
major.
That the 2 alternates would be one from each of the auxiliary members shall be from each of the 2 major political parties. So you'd have to keep a running track about who's independent and whose party either is Democratic or.
So you're saying an independent could never be an alternate?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
What-
saying that you have to keep count. Based upon the charter, it says no more than 3 of the members of said board shall at any one time be members of the same political party.
Okay.
And one of the auxiliary members shall be from each of the 2 major political parties. However, when you don't have any members applying for the position that are either a Republican or Democrat, that kind of throws us out of whack. Because you're not prohibited.
Right,
from
and-
not having. an
Right,
auxiliary
And with the
member.
3 being of the same political party, that means to me you could still have 5 independents.
Yeah, I don't think the charter probably was not written with, back in a time when the independent party was as prevalent as it is now.
Either
Yeah.
the Blues party or any other third
Right.
party.
Is the independent a part? Because I mean,
Unaffiliated is an independent, not considered part of
So
the,
that means
a major political party.
an independent could not be an at-large member.
That's what I just said, and you
Right.
said no.
That makes no sense.
Well, but that's what that
That's what
says.
it kinda
Yeah.
is.
Right, so think of
Yeah.
it this way, suppose everybody on the zoning and planning board resigned tonight, and then the next 7 people that applied for both positions plus the auxiliary were all independents. if we read this the way it's written, you could not propose any of those names for appointment because they're not a member of the major political
So we
party.
either
which
change the way
makes
it's
no
written,
sense.
or we go against what it says.
Well, again, if you go against what it said, someone would have to challenge it. Then in a courtroom, you'd have to say, nobody from a major political party applied for the position. We were left with 3 independents. We have to have the full component of zoning and planning board members in order for business to be completed. So you kind of.
Why don't we just change it? Because you can always, at that
just-
point, you could have an independent that,
You have to, if you change it through ordinance, you just have to change it through the charter the next time around.
But he actually had. Yep.
But at the same time, you have to allow these boards the ability to work.
Why don't we resurrect what Al had suggested? You're right, it didn't make the cut when we tried to keep it on one page, if I recall. So,
We have another election.
I'm here.
hi, Al.
Hi. That provision has been of great concern to me. As you know, both times the charter came up, I suggested getting rid of the party affiliation. When that was done, West Warwick and the rest of the state, party affiliation meant everything. And they tried to keep it honest. I can honestly say in the 20 years that I've been serving the zoning board, not one vote was ever cast along party lines. And I suggested getting rid of it. My concern is, and in all honesty, I don't know the composition of the board. My concern is that if we end up with members, let's say we end up with 4 Democrats, does that give rise to a decision of the zoning board being ready for challenge? I mean, I think that provision is, and I've said it before, it was should have been removed a long time ago. Look at your own council, the membership.
Right. Yes, yep.
The funny part on that particular member that's before you tonight, when the meeting was called last week, everybody thought he had already been appointed. And Paula realized that he had never actually been appointed to fill in the vacancy created by the resignation.
Did he put an application in and we didn't get it?
So I think I think the email we saw, he automatically assumed, and we did have conversation here about alternates rising to regular status. If there was a resignation, they're getting right of first refusal.
still has to be put out. 'Cause it's a
Yeah,
new position.
It's a,
I mean, even renewals.
Right.
But I think that we're on something with.
Even so, like, I know Al's part of that zoning. Anybody here from the town involved in those meetings? Would that be Maryland?
Paula goes to zoning, Maryland goes to.
Yeah, that's
planning.
right too. I mean, Paula, and I don't want to add responsibility, but if the clerk just sends out an email to that board, I mean, to give them all the agendas and everything and say, just an FYI, there is a full-time position available. You know, that, I think, and the same thing with planning, which would be Maryland, right? So Maryland could send it out and say, hey, just want to give you a heads up, there is a full-time position available here if anybody, any opens. Now, if they don't step up, and that leaves, you know, by the time it comes to us, it should be vetted already. I mean, when we have an open position, we probably should have, this position's available, blah, 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 with, must be a Democrat, and if they don't apply, then, or whatever, but, personally, and then the other thing, if we're gonna look at this, I would also look that any elected official cannot serve on planning or zoning. Because as a town side, we've had that. what I've watched on the state side where politics was in play when a state rep was up here as a zoning person. So, I gotta look at that and say, no elected official should be on the planning or zoning.
I would agree with you on that. I know what you're talking about.
So maybe you can resurrect that, put that together for us so we can look at it. Obviously, we don't have an opportunity to amend the charter right now, but let's keep it so it's ready to go but perhaps we can address the alternate situation and how that works as far as filling a space prior to that.
Just realizing Al probably can't hear anything I'm saying. So on for the next meeting, I'll make sure to have the affiliations of the members. So, if it's appropriate, if you guys want to, change those appointments. I don't know if because Tim procedurally, because they've already appointed that other person as a full-time member, they'd be rescinding that and changing it. How to,
If you gotta rescind it because of a violation of the charter, that would be, have to provide him with notice.
no, I don't think that, it's because of a violation of the charter, just because a new member coming in, they want to promote a full-time,
But the promotion part is not the, authority of the board.
Not a promotion.
Well, no, if you've got a position that's open, it's up to the council to appoint to fill that position. Not up to, I mean, the body can have a recommendation, the attorney can have a recommendation, sure. But it's still up to the council to fill the position. So if the council filled the position incorrectly or illegally, it would have to be rectified by a rescission.
I don't think that it's a violation of the party. I don't think that's the issue. I just think that, they want to reshuffle the.
I'm not sure that I understood the implications of the appointment that we made. So I don't know if the rest of you were aware of that, but.
Well, my suggestion is if you want to table this whole thing, Al and I, we can get together with Sarah to put together our collective thoughts to figure out how we should resolve this, and then obviously make the changes going forward necessary with the charter amendment.
So I will amend my motion to table item I-1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Table.
All right. Request from Joan Card for reappointment to the West Warwick Housing Authority for term ending November 2029.
I'll move the reappointment, but I have a question there too.
Do I have a second?
Second.
What's your question?
How does that, I'm not sure I know how that works. I mean, same thing, she just happens to be, Joan happens to be a resident at Robert Street, if I've read it correctly.
Mhm.
Do they elect someone? How does that work? Is it just anybody who comes forward? You know?
It used to be that there would be a member from Robert Street and a member from the Clyde
Right.
Tower
Yep.
on the housing authority. And that's normally an internal recommendation by the people that live there.
Okay.
Now, the town council is not privy to what happens with that particular election, but normally when a name comes forward, your job is to appoint for the housing authority, and that's all your job is, because everything else of the housing authority is under state law.
It's the case, I'll move the name of Joan Cobb.
Second.
Move a second. I know Joan pretty well. She is actively involved over on Robert Street. She was actually very active over on, I can't think of the name of Clyde Towers. So she's always been active, and actually her significant other lives at Clyde Towers, so she's actively in both buildings all the time, so. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Request from Jack Lancelota for appointment to the West Warwick Arctic Redevelopment Commission for term ending July 2029.
Move the appointment.
This should say, this was a reappointment for,
His application said
This
that, if I
says
remember.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
reappointment
Yep.
for him. He says it on his,
He does say it,
Check
he's
box.
checked the reappointment,
Yep.
yes.
did you just move the name?
I did,
So I'll second that.
all right.
moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
New business, October 2024 fiscal year 25 monthly finance report.
Council President, if you don't mind delaying that one till the end, the finance director's coming from a personal event and hasn't arrived yet.
Okay. Go to two.
Authorization of the payment of balance of the USTA grant awards in the amount of $2,040 to the West Warwick Wildcats Olympian Group.
I'll move the authorization, but if I could have a little background. I mean, this is a long time
We
ago.
got a second, then we'll get a
All
background.
right, yeah.
Second.
All right, Jay, well, Mark, you guys can give the background.
Councilman Licciardi has firsthand information, but apparently the town applied for a grant from USTA. We won a grant award of $2,040, or there was actually more than that. Some money was expended at that time. There's residual money left. But the organization that it was applied to no longer exist. So Councilman Licciardi was looking, we still have those funds, looking to move them for another organization that fulfills the criteria of what the intent of the money was. If that makes sense.
So basically, in 2017, I wrote a grant. for tennis.
2017. That's why I don't know about it. Okay, yeah.
So I wrote a grant for tennis, and the idea was to use it for the special needs group in town,
Okay,
which are the Wildcats.
all right.
And we received the grant. At this point, it was like, I want to say $2,500, so that we received. There was some issue with getting use of the courts, timeliness of everything. And all of a sudden, a couple of years go by, COVID hit, and everything
Okay.
stopped.
All right.
So, but the intent was to utilize this for equipment, instruction, and all that for this specific group of special needs, kids and adults. So, long story short, as Mark said, there's $2,040 left. With the addition of the two pickleball courts coming into Crompton, and we have the 4 tennis courts up on the hill. I think it should go to this group. This is what it was written for. And this can be used for instruction, for equipment, all that. They do represent us very well in town. And it's almost like they're the lost group. So I think it's only fitting that it goes there.
And is there a board for this group? I mean, so.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
So the
I mean,
wild.
who would we give the money to? Is
So-
there a,
It would be written, the check would have to go to the Rhode Island Special Olympics.
Okay.
With the memo being West Warwick Wildcats, who does have a
that works for me?
president. Each community team does.
Yep.
But the head organization is Rhode Island Special Olympics. But this way they make sure they get it and they
Perfect.
use it, so.
Yep.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Authorization for the purchase of one tactic IDN plus narcotics testing instrument.
Move the authorization to purchase.
Second.
Chief?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm respectfully requesting authorization to purchase the Tactic ID N Plus narcotics testing instrument. It would allow properly trained officers to identify suspected narcotics quickly, accurately, and more importantly, safely, as samples can be scanned through opaque and transparent packaging material. We've done a testing and evaluation on 2 different types of instruments. Detective Sergeant Green highly recommends Tactic ID N Plus. So we're requesting authorization to purchase one for the amount of $35,237.40, and the funding source shall be the federal drug forfeiture account.
Any other questions?
How big is this thing, Ernie?
It's a tabletop type instrument.
And the picture in the thing that was attached, what was that supposed to, is that through a box? What is that that? looked
That's the
like-
actual
it
testing equipment.
It actually looked like some
Yep, that's the
Some
testing, that's the
baked
testing
potatoes,
unit.
doesn't it?
I don't think it quite,
Doesn't it?
I don't think it quite does that.
I know that, but I mean, that's.
You
what-
hungry?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
How many officers are trained to use this?
Right now, there's only 2, but the package that comes with it will allow on-site as well as online training for as many officers as we want. Probably 12 officers would probably be the ideal number for our department.
So this unit's not a mobile unit, it stays.
It
in
is.
the- Oh, it is.
You
Okay.
can take it out.
Okay.
Yep. like I said, Detective Sergeant Green, uses one now with his, task force officers. We just don't have one within our, agency. So either he has to get up in the middle of the night and come in, or we have to package stuff. And obviously with the, influx of fentanyl, it's extremely dangerous to try to rip packages
Right.
open to try to get a
Right.
sample. So this would alleviate, well, almost eliminate, the need to do that. Certainly we could send stuff out for testing. The problem with that is we have to wait maybe 4 to 6 months for the Department of Health to get back to us whether or not something's positive. This would provide a positive reading, which the courts recognize and accept. So we could place that person under arrest and bring him to court right away.
So it's immediate versus 4 to 6 months.
It is, correct. Yep.
Any questions for the chief? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Placement of 2 additional stop signs at the intersection of Quaker Drive and Shady Hill Drive.
Is this a resolution? I forget.
If not, it was a
It's
request.
just a,
There's a request from,
Right.
right.
So I want to say back in May or June, we discussed this. And we had decided at one point that one would suffice to begin with, one stop sign. But then I believe, Dave, you said you even went up there and drove through and said, yeah, it needs 3. And I'm still kind of sticking to my guns here. I think 3 is appropriate. I think just in that neighborhood alone, the previous intersection on the same road has 3. So I'm asking that we go through and put the 2 additional stop signs in. I don't know if anybody has any counterpoints, any reason not to?
I think if I recall, the Traffic Safety Committee did not make that recommendation. They were opposed to it, and I don't know if Al is still on it or
We
not,
didn't want any. The committee
but I
didn't
don't
want any.
remember the reasoning.
I'm here.
Yeah, Al,
No, the traffic committee was opposed to it. They went out, they looked at it. And their concern is, and my concern is, having lived on Quaker Drive, that basically those 2 stop signs are speed control. They're not stop signs. They're to protect the driveway. And I'm still opposed to it. And I know the traffic committee is. But if the council wants, I can just redraft the ordinance, but I think it should go back to the traffic committee.
and Mark, you're right. I totally agreed with the homeowner by going up there and looking at it myself and saying, and I think I even responded back to the homeowner saying, I agree with what you're saying.
Tasha's here tonight, by the
Yeah,
way.
I know, I see her. And I was one of them when she sent her email, I was one that replied back saying,
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm
And,
not,
and I have, I mean, I disagree that it's being used for speed control.
exactly, that's what I was
I
gonna say.
agree, it's for public safety in that exact area of, and again, I don't know if there's been any accidents, but you can come around that corner doing 25, 30 miles an hour and knock on wood, God forbid if anything was to happen, drive right into somebody's house for crying
Yeah,
out loud.
and I think a lot of it has to do with the way the roadway itself is shaped.
Mhm.
There's sweeping
wide.
curves rather than, nice 90-degree corners, which indicate a place that you need to slow. You almost think that you're on the same road when you're taking a right.
I think it's difficult, and I think maybe the traffic committee might agree with the way, how wide it is and where you gotta put those stop signs. They're kind of off the side of the road
Yeah.
where they actually, if you put them where they're supposed to be, they'd probably be in the road.
Yeah, you'll
about
be
5
too
to 6
far
feet.
into that. Yeah, I
So
agree.
I think that's the biggest problem there is when you put them on the lawn, that you're so far in that you're gonna come up and you're actually probably gonna blow right through because it's gonna be over here
Yeah.
instead of where it should be, because you're right, the road doesn't come out, stop, and then go left or
So
right.
the
It's a sweep.
existing, the new existing stop sign is on Quaker. So when you're coming up the hill, there's a stop sign there. The concern, especially if you're going up that road, is coming from the left. Am I correct? That's really the big concern. Because that's where people are blasting through that, because it does look like a nice wide road where there isn't a big concern. I think, your eye tells you that it's not something you should slow down for. But I think, I really do think that in terms of safety, something's needed there, in terms of a stop sign.
Do you want me to draft the ordinance for the next meeting?
And I really was listening, Al, but why did the traffic, why are you opposed to it and the Traffic Safety Committee opposed?
Because it's a straight road, and realistically, it's protecting coming out of that driveway. But other than that, there's no reason to stop on a straight road where you've got the stop sign on the road coming into it. And
All the stop signs on Coit Ave.
Well, actually, I think they're still looking at all those. Yeah.
There's one every 5 houses,
Go down to Natick.
same thing.
yeah, Brookfield Hills.
And,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. Those 2 areas are just like this area. And I don't see the issue here where,
I don't think any of the signs on Crozon Road are legal.
well, that's another whole story.
Also come up here.
There's a stop sign if you're coming up from this way. but the-
Well,
the big concern is
unfortunately,
the Crossroad.
There's a policy
That's
in
very true.
place, but beforehand, people used to say, put a stop sign here, put a stop sign there.
So you want to put one here?
Here.
In her right, on her property,
Well,
or whoever's property, I
Yeah.
don't know who that is.
yeah. So you can see how it's sweeping. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not like a well-defined. You're familiar with it, right?
I was actually driving up there today. Look,
You have any thoughts?
I think to follow the ordinance, it has to go back to traffic.
I think in a situation like this, with a stop sign, people are either gonna stop or they're not. You know, I don't think a stop sign is gonna make too much of a difference with speed. However, trying to put myself in your situation, because I do think it's important, because it's important to a person who lives in town. And I deal with some of that where I live right now, where issues are going on, and yeah, it's not overwhelming issues, but there are issues in the neighborhood that need to be addressed. And at this point, I don't think it's going to hurt anything to put the other 2. We had one. Didn't do the job. So I have no problem adding 2 more. Again, I don't think it's gonna hurt anything at all. That's not a knock on the traffic committee at all.
No,
It's
I don't-
just,
no.
I don't think it's gonna be, I think it hopefully will fix the problem.
You came here for this subject.
Natasha Pershey, 112 Shady Hill Drive. The one that they did put up is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It says stop on the road. It's just in the wrong spot. It doesn't need to be there. It needs to be on the sides. People do stop there when there wasn't a stop sign. That's not where
Because
they're
it's a
not.
90,
That's not,
you'd have to.
you
Yeah.
kind of have to stop
Yeah.
there to make sure no one's coming in either direction. It's those 2 directions. And again, there's an increase in traffic due to all the construction that was on Cohasset, just people in the number of cars, because I've lived there for, it's going to be 19 years, and I've never asked for a stop sign before, but I never really noticed this increase of traffic that's been flowing through. But like I said, the one they put in, it's beautiful. It's a stop sign. It says stop on the roadway.
Did a lot of those around town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's really nice. I wish one was over there and over there. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So they would go in this yard and this yard, I'm still not,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
and do we have to do anything special to get that done?
I don't know what the
What do we
street
have to do?
boundaries are there, because
Yeah,
normally
there's not
a
much
street,
there.
a street's usually 40 feet wide with sidewalks, so that. I
Are we
don't,
just adding
There are no
2
sidewalks.
more, or are we just going back and doing this whole thing all over again?
You better go through your police safety commission to determine what's the best route to go. I mean, you're not gonna reconstruct this road to make it narrower. Right, so I mean, think of what was just discussed and think of the cost of construction to make this road, to be a normal road in West Warwick, 40 feet wide with possible sidewalks.
I don't think anybody's thinking that.
No, just think it, if you're going to redesign the road theoretically regarding stop signs or any other traffic devices, the best group to go through is your safety commission.
and again, I saw two,
sorry, traffic
I can give you 2 examples Jay, one's in your ward, Pulaski Street. And the other one's in Mark's ward where, that street was a sweeping street, straight around the corner from you, I think it's the Richards residence where they built out the street.
Crossbow.
Yeah.
And they did it on Pulaski Street where they built, because it was a big sweep over there and there was issues coming, especially coming around. So I don't know if this, if we can look at that too, maybe, but it was more berms than anything that was installed, but. Oh, I know it's,
So you're gonna put.
no, I get it. It's,
Near yard and an A yard? Where you gonna-
well, that, I don't know if that's the yard, because we could own 5 feet into the property. That's what you gotta find out. Because, like
So
I,
this is not
Now-
just
now
the
you're
stop
talking-
sign.
now you're
You have
talking
to
to
measure
survey.
it.
not have stop signs in their yards
no, you gotta look at this, right? No, it's, you gotta get permission if it's in their yard, right? But secondly, sidewalks, like I said, the roads are usually 40 feet wide. 5 on each side with sidewalks.
Yeah, there's no sidewalks. there.
So, and that's the question, how wide's the road? Is it over 40?
Oh.
You know, with sidewalk, I mean, we see it. And if you did, that's just one of those unique areas that, you know, I'll be honest, my land was just surveyed. They put a pin in the middle of the road. I said, what the heck is that? That's your property. They said, that's the road. They're like, well, they built the road too far in. So there's a stop sign there too. Stop signs,
You'd have to look at a survey,
Yeah.
you'd have to look at a redesign based upon the current rules and regulations.
So why don't we talk about this when we first
Exactly.
discussed this?
Yeah. Well, I think because we said we weren't gonna do 3 stop signs. So it
you
seemed
said we
pretty,
tried one
it
at
would
the
seem,
time.
Yeah.
it seemed pretty obvious that at the end of,
You know why the safety commission said no.
Well, I think it should be brought back to them, reconsidered, and then brought back to us, and then whether or not we pass the ordinance is up to us, I think.
yeah,
I think that sending it back to them is gonna result in the same.
The same, but also, the ordinance was before us with one. If Al reintroduces the ordinance, if we are going to change it, we can change it, but tell us, if we can't change it, tell us why, tell us the safety ramifications, the property ramifications, you know, what's actually the street, what's not the street,
And who's gonna be able to tell us that, Hal?
everybody involved, actually.
I see the smirk. I don't,
You look, I mean,
I
think
don't
about
like
it
it
right
going
now.
back to the,
You'd have to get a survey to determine where the property, public property is and private property. So I don't know how many houses are on this street. But I mean, a survey could end up costing you guys some money. And then are you gonna redesign the road to meet to the current, traffic signals that are required for a road like that? Then you're gonna open up a whole can of worms because people are gonna come to you from different parts of town and say, I've got the same thing, I want the same thing done.
I guess my other,
According to our ordinance, traffic control devices are supposed to go first to traffic control committee.
And then if they don't
so I
make a
guess
recommendation.
I guess I would suggest we send it back to the traffic safety
Follow the
committee
process.
with the understanding, well, to follow the process, but with the understanding that there is an interest in perhaps putting in these 2 and tell us why we shouldn't do that and what, yeah. I'm not sure I'm for reconstructing roads
I'm not.
and,
I'm sure you're
The
not.
question would be, does the Traffic Safety Commission have the authority to make a recommendation to add 1, 2, or more traffic safety devices based upon the survey, based upon the width of the road,
And-
et cetera? Because there seems to be a lot of facts that haven't been established.
so
You could table this and resubmit it, or
Al, what's the best way to handle it?
I would suggest that I get in touch with the major and work with him, says, give it back to the traffic committee, and I'll give them the council's concerns and let them they just make a recommendation.
Yep.
You don't have to follow it, but
I
the
think,
ordinance says that it has to go to them for the recommendation.
I think the most important part of that would be to make sure we communicate it's not for speed control. We're not looking to slow people down because they're going too fast. We're looking for people to stop due to a safety concern.
And I guess, and maybe, Jason, this is what you were saying. If there's nobody there to issue a ticket, is it gonna make a difference? If there's a
Mark,
stop sign?
I'll suggest that the major get in touch with you and discuss it with you before it goes to the committee.
Okay, that works. We'll have the same conversation we had 6 months ago.
Guy, though. He's
Different
not-
guy, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, different guy.
All right, any other concerns?
We're not done. We'll look on her face. We're not done yet.
Bear with us.
Yeah, yeah.
We want to get it done, but we want to get it done the right way.
They didn't put it back quicker, they actually had put it where one should have been to begin with. Coming in only one direction.
And then moved it.
I come down there, I was like, oh, I'll put down foot one to address one direction, but not the other direction. And then they moved it, then like the next day, they've taken it out and put it at the end of the wayfront. And then the next day, it was painted on the street, so I don't know what's going on, but, when I addressed it with the traffic committee, all they did for me was put up two signs that said, slow children at play.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Natasha.
David, did you want to go back to new business?
Yeah, Kristen's here.
So October 2024, fiscal year 25 monthly fund.
Chilly out there? Oh, my God.
80 to 30, what do you expect?
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Good evening. Current year tax collections total $35,716,507 and a penny, which is 54% of the budget for current year taxes. We have collected 2 quarters. However, it seems like a little less, but a few taxpayers pay their entire tax bill when they receive it, which skews where we would be 4 months into the fiscal year. Prior year tax collections total $176,839 and a penny, which is very coincidental, which is equal to 14% of the budgeted amount. This line has been adjusted by $206,334.06 for the 60-day rule accrued back to fiscal year 2024. Overall, the revenues are at 41%, which is higher than the expected 33%. This is mainly attributed to strong tax collections and higher than expected finance revenues. Expenditures are trending under budget at 28%. This is 5% below the expected 33%. This can be attributed to the timing of certain line items and when they're paid, such as the school department transfer. Also, most of the operating departments are running on target or under budget. The Civic Center has current operating expenditures of $248,211.63 and operating revenues of $139,644.25. The bank balance as of November 6, 2024 is $19,556,228.83. We earned an additional $10,221 in interest on the $3 million in interest-bearing sweep account at Citizens Bank for the month of October. And we have also earned a total of $381,664.23 in interest on our ARPA funds invested at Central Bank as of September 2024. The fiscal year 2024 audit has commenced. The auditors should be coming in eventually.
Are they coming today? Nope, it didn't happen. Nope. They're behind.
We're behind.
Will
Get
they?
mad at us when we're behind.
I know. Trust
But we
me.
do have a commitment that they will be done by December 31st.
I would say a partial commitment. They've already spoken to the Auditor General about their staffing issues and the fact that they may need an extension. If so, it's because of them, not me. So I said I wasn't happy
They
with
have
that.
other municipalities in the same position?
They have other municipalities that they just, because they lost the 3 key players that they're struggling apparently. So.
And obviously, the Civic Center sticks out. Is that a timing issue? I mean,
Because of the ice rink
Yeah.
being closed, but
Yeah.
Lori does fully think that she'll be above that, she'll turn it around by December, she said. By the end of December.
and the same thing with the field house rental? Because that's way below where we thought it would be too. Okay.
She didn't mention the field house rental, but
All right. Thank you.
It could be more people do it in
I
November.
know it's timing. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
get that.
Well, the field house will start getting rented now.
Yeah.
because of outdoor, But the actual warmer weather hasn't helped us at all either.
Right, exactly.
Kristen,
Exactly.
the, with ARPA coming to a close,
Mhm.
the interest that we get on those funds, where does that money go? And what can we use that?
You
for?
guys can decide to use it on whatever you want.
It was my intention to use that as the money is gone, to use that for an additional part of an additional year's paving projects.
Okay,
Because we have some money that we got back from DOT, the 33% that they pitched in for 2 years, plus that money, plus a little bit of this year's money, perhaps gets us a year's or a year and a half's worth of, to keep our momentum going with road projects.
and we don't have to, request that from them.
No,
We can
that's
spend
in
it,
our
that's our
account.
money,
It's-
correct?
Yeah, we have to encumber the remaining funds that we have for opera by the end of this calendar year, which we'll propose at over the next 2 meetings on how to best do that. But the interest is ours.
Thanks.
Any questions for Kristen? Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, you're welcome.
Showing up. Right.
Resolution approving change order to bid award 2025-1 for, I'm gonna not say this right, the Steele Beausoleil
Beausoleil.
Brothers. Sorry. Sorry, Beausoleil Brothers. For the Crompton Playground 2024-88.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, Mont,
So the initial award to Boussalet for their bid was $390,000. Just as a reminder, we received the $400,000 grant from DEM, plus we dedicated some ARPA funds. There's 2 parts of the project that, one of which we decided to enhance, and another, we decided that we wanted someone else to do it and not do it in-house. So we had an additional length of retaining wall for $3,600, and then install and compact the stone subsurface for underneath the poured-in-place flooring for $18,000. So we're requesting to increase the bid award to Boussalet Brothers to $414,600. And right now, I don't anticipate needing an additional funding source, as we should be able to complete that within the already approved opera funds and the DEM grant award.
any questions for Mark? I was down there today. I happened just to stop by. I saw Jeff there, but then Mark was pulling in the back. They're doing a phenomenal
It's
job.
great.
It's looking good.
It's really good.
That rubber flooring is definitely the 3-color flooring stuck out. So it's gonna be a good
Yeah.
addition to the town.
The number doesn't add up.
No.
No. So 390 and 18 and 3,600 is not 414. It's 411.
Right?
Do that.
Yeah, it looks like they add, so 493 is where they stop. That's the difference, I think.
It says in their memo, it's 393, and then the ordinance says 390.
Well, but because it starts on 390 on the first page of what's attached. I'm sorry, I should have done this before. The original cost was 390, and I believe that's correct.
Mhm.
When you go to the next page, it says the original contract was 393. So that's where the mistake is.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
they're
it's
adding
actually
36.
411.6. I think. Please check me, but
No, I think you're right.
The document 701-217. Looks like they added 3,600 there. At the end, it was 39,600, and then
then they didn't
He
do
added
39.6. They did it
3600
again.
twice.
Yeah, 3,600
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah,
that's where it is.
So it should be
Or just
411.
3,000 of it, actually.
correct. They didn't undo the whole 36 because they started with a different number.
So amend to 411,600.
So it's
I
that
hate
whole
to s-
second page.
Yeah, I hate to say that, but do we want to actually knowing that, do we want to stick with the 414 so you don't have to come back in case that's really what they mean?
It's not
I-
critical.
I
We
just
can-
want- I
we-
wanna
we
be
can
aware that-
table it till next week and I'll
All right,
have them
yeah, why don't we
verify
do
it.
that?
It's
Yeah,
not
'cause I just want to
critical
be
for today.
cautious, I want
Yeah.
to caution that because we authorized 414, all of a sudden
That's
we
right.
write a check
You're
for
spending
414.
414.
No, yes, so I just,
So the issue's on that very first line of the second one, where it says the original contract sum was 393. It was actually 390.
right,
And then 393, 600 should be on the third line.
Because we're meeting next week anyway.
instead
Right,
of
it's not
390,
urgent, so I can
He,
take
he
care of
seems
that.
pretty
so
cool
it's
to deal with.
3,000 off. Yeah.
Guy seems
So I-
pretty, the guy seems.
Yeah,
pretty
we're
well
not near
done.
we're
is it-
still 4 weeks away from a final anyway, so I think
Okay,
we're good.
so I'll change my motion to table that resolution.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Being that change, Mark, what do you, anticipate for a ballpark finish?
They're making significant headway. So I think today they were leveling pathways. So they should be paving, I would imagine, within a week to 2 weeks, the walkways, the parking spots. And now we can move forward with the park striping along Inclusion Lane. I think the biggest holdup, and then there's some internal stuff that we're gonna do along the older play structure that's still there. The biggest holdup for completion will be the grass, won't be grass at this time of year. But they're moving along very well. There's a couple little pieces that they'll put up once it's closer to being open, the basketball rim and swings and such, but it's moving along well.
Request from Narragansett Electric for pole placement on Phoenix Avenue.
Move approval.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion?
Hmm? I'm curious, so just because for an AM,
AMF meeting.
yeah,
That's like 1965.
yeah, what does that mean? I mean, Joe's all over it, I'm sure, so I don't have
Yeah,
a
he
problem with
signed
that.
off
He
on it.
signed off on it, but I was surprised when I saw it. Oh,
So.
oh, maybe, yeah. Who owns it then? Narragansett?
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
School Building Committee update.
Who wants to? Mark, you can
Yeah.
take that one.
Two things. First, there's a town and district leadership think tank this Thursday from 4:30 to 6 in the media center. But more importantly, the next community conversation number 3 will be next Wednesday, November 20th from 6 to 7. And that theme is looking at the revised options, refining what's preferred for the schools based on the needs that have been identified.
Mark, can you go over that one more time? November 20th?
November 20th from 6 to 7 in the high school auditorium is the community conversation number 3,
Thank you.
which
And
they'll go
actually,
into
we want to
detail.
drive as many people as we can
Right.
to those conversations. There won't be another one until January, I don't think.
And that's all in an effort to submit the stage 2 plan to the Department of Education in February. Oh, yeah. The school does, and I usually do.
Any questions for Mark? It's getting real, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Discussion's been, what was it, 2-hour meeting the other night, in depth.
Yep.
Open to the public. So,
They're all open to the public.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, encampment response team update.
Good evening, all.
Hi, chief.
how are you?
Good. So we've gone out twice since the last, council meeting. And, the numbers have continued to go down. I know in the last week, there've been 3 people that have gone into for treatment. You know, we had originally talked about numbers between 41 and 51, went from 43 at 10 different sites down to 38 at 8 sites. Went down to 37 and went back up to 10 sites. And now we're at 36 with 11 sites. Actually, we can take one off, so we're back down to like 10. Actually, in the interim, like afterwards, there were people at a site that Outreach was able to talk to and have them relocate out of. So we are, continuing to make progress, so I should say the Outreach is making progress and in doing that, so pretty much where we are.
So Chief, it was 43 people, about 3 weeks ago, roughly?
Yeah, no,
Around the last
8 weeks,
meeting?
really.
Oh,
It
8
goes quick, huh? We're going every other week. This was the 4th week we did it, so.
down to 36, so
Six, yeah,
7
maybe
people
6,
have
but-
been placed or found some help.
I found, yes. Yes. And right now, even though we're counting 36, we know, 2 of them are actually out of state for a few weeks. They're probably going to be coming back. So, and there are a couple other people that are temporarily housed somewhere that are expected to be back.
So what happens if next week, the second ordinance, second reading goes through, and then 20 days after that, it's official? What happens in a month from now when you go out?
Okay, so the next
What are
time
you
that we will
expecting
go
for
out, the
fun?
next meeting is 19th.
Right.
And we are anticipating to
21.
go out on the 21st, so we'll be able to carry that message that day. And obviously, there are people here today from Outreach.
Yeah.
And, so I think after the first passing, everyone's going to be made aware. And, the Outreach people are out there daily, having interactions. And, the word will get out. So that's what's going to happen? I don't know. My fear would be that it would be like when you build a housing development in the woods and all the deer just start going out all over everywhere. But, best way to describe it, I think. But I don't know what's gonna happen.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you for the update.
Thanks, Steve.
Celebrating Small Business Saturday on November 30th, 2024.
A resolution, but I guess move the proclamation. There you go.
Second.
Again, this is something we've done yearly. Is it Pamela Wu? I think it's Pamela Wu. She has requested this, but if you look as the second sentence, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 37 million small businesses in the United States. Small business represent 99.7% of the firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61% of the new jobs created since 1995. Small business employee, 45.9% of the employees in private sector in the United States. So she's always promoted shop and small business across the United States. So she has sent this, I think, for the last 10 years to West Warwick. So I think, we have a lot of small businesses right here in each one of our wards. I know Phoenix is having a lot of different stores opening down there now. Right here in Arctic, there's different stores, there's different studios and whatever. Try to shop and help these bakeries and whatever out there in West Warwick. I know I hear a lot of people say, I'm going to Borelli's. Well, on November 30th, let's stay here in West Warwick, right here in Arctic.
Shop Queeset Avenue.
And Cohasset Ave. There's plenty of places around small businesses to help support. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of 2025 Town Council meeting schedule.
There's nothing attached here.
Well, it was at our plate.
Huh?
It's at our place.
Oh, I didn't see that. I haven't read any of this.
So I assume you didn't deviate at all, Sarah?
So, basically, I continue to do what we have done for the last few years, doing the first and third as, where we can, and then moving it to the fourth
In February.
Tuesday,
Yep.
when we have school vacation. We also built in the budget into there, but
Right.
it's almost identical to what we have been doing. The only difference is that in May, we haven't really been meeting the second meeting because we've had the financial town meeting. We won't have the financial town meeting this year, so I just put the third Tuesday, so like a normal meeting there. And then for July and August, going down to one meeting. I am at the New England, Institute the week of the 14th, so in July. So I made the meeting for the 8th, so I would be here. If you guys want to go more mid-month, then you're absolutely welcome to. I just figured I'd let you know ahead of time that, I'd have to get coverage for that one if you wanted to meet that week. But if you have any concerns, questions, anything I missed, that's always possible. And I also have vetted these dates with the with wastewater.
Yep. No, I'm good with this schedule. I mean, if changes need to happen throughout the year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we usually work it, but I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, looks good. Thank you.
Save me from having to buy a calendar.
Another
I
non-good
like
for
the
Robin.
calendar because you like. to post the whole
Cover my
month.
picture here and say, here you go, Merry Christmas.
That's you.
I'll have the official resolution for that on the next agenda for you guys.
Thank you.
Moving on. Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School Building Committee, Tree Warden, Recreation Committee, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. West Warwick 250th Commission, Patuxent River Authority, appointment to fill a vacancy for an unexpired term ending June 2026. West Warwick Housing Authority was filled this evening. Arctic Redevelopment Commission was filled this evening. Public forum.
Any public comment? Hearing none?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Have a good night.